Welcome everyone to the Ashen Forge. I am Phantom X, and I am of course joined by Diggs and the legendary No Toxin. How's it going, gentlemen?
Pretty good, well. Pretty good.
Yeah, we title of today is What's in a Name? So I think Diggs is going to kind of lead us into more of a discussion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, sort of we're at this alpha, beta, early access sort of, you know, what is all this, what's going on? So I will throw it to you, Diggs.
Yeah, so I think it was December 18th that we hit open beta for Apocalypse. So that gave us, or that opened it up to beta testers for the Battle Royale. I think they were trying to get at least 25K players on the server to test it out. And so basically we had squads, we had duos, we had solos. And then for a while, a few days, solos were working and squads. I think it was squads were working and solos weren't working. And then towards the end, it was solos were working and squads and duos were not working. At the same time, they tried to migrate the website. And I think that was actually supposed to happen a week before open beta started, but lots of delays and they had more trouble migrating the website than they expected, and I think it's still not done. We still don't have forums back up.
Couldn't see that coming.
Which is fine because the devs were never in the forums anyway. Everything is always on Discord. So it is a little bit disappointing for not to see the people who were active on the forums active in the Discord. But you know, that is what it is. So the website has mostly gone back up so we can see our purchases. It's actually not as robust as it was before, but they're still working on that. So, one of the things that got broken, what was working for alpha testers before they opened it to beta testers was the legendary path. So they have 2 paths of adventure that you can take with questing, and that'll open up cosmetics that you'll be able to use in the MMO RPG once that launches. So there's a basic adventure path. Then there's a legendary path that you can purchase with embers. And that was working for while we were testing it in Alpha 1. But when they opened it up to beta, that got broken. So we haven't been able to actually play through the legendary path. And I think it's Alpha 1 backers and content creators get legendary path for free all the way through. And then beta testers get the legendary path for the first month or the first 3 months, something like that. But it's not working, so that was a little bit frustrating. But we were told that we will that progress that we've been making once beta comes back up will be kept, so we won't have to get that reset. So the plan was to have open beta live ongoing, but we had so many problems that they shut it down right before the 1st of January, and it's going to open back up on January 11th is what they're shooting for. But you played some of the Battle Royale, didn't you, Phantom, or did you not get around to it? Yeah. And what did you think? Just meh, Battle Royale? How many sessions did you play?
I mean, it's not bad. It's just not my style. It's just not what I like to play. I mean, for as quickly as they move things along, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give them that, but that's just not what I signed up for. So.
Yeah, and
so I'm getting a little bored. I mean, I'll be honest. It'll come.
Yeah. I'm a pacifist, so of course I'm not into PvP and trying to kill people, but it's fun just trying to. Well, it was somewhat fun for a day or two, just trying to stay alive. And then I got pretty bored quickly, but they added questing, little daily quests in. So trying to hit those milestones does help with the testing part and keeps me in and playing longer. So they have quests like destroy 40 objects, destroy 20 objects with a wand. Well, I think the destroy stuff with the wand is actually kill people with the wand. Damage is what they call it. Damage, do 200 damage with the wand, do 200 damage with the sword, but that's actually damage to people. But testing to see if it works with walls,
it's like, opening chests or something too, right?
Yeah, opening chests, stuff like that. So just working on those quests kept me testing more, and it is actually a testing phase, not really playing. So I think it's a great incentive for those of us who aren't interested in testing. It might encourage us to test more than we would if those quests weren't there. But one of the things that happened is people became upset about, one of the first things, people became upset about it being called a beta when we haven't started testing Alpha 1 for the MMORPG. So they're irate and saying, why are you calling this a beta? It's not beta quality. And why are you making the Battle Royale a beta before the MMORPG is even at Alpha 1? Because I paid for an MMORPG, and this is a Battle Royale. But the Battle Royale is really just...
So the joke I bring up is, hey, weren't a lot of these devs the same folks who are over at the people that were making H1Z1 before it became Daybreak Games? Because, I feel like I've seen this pattern before where you get people invested in one game and then you give them the switcheroo to something completely different. And then the question comes up, well, are they ever going to double back to the original game or not? And that's the thing that worries me the most about this is, it could sink not because they made an MMO, but because they didn't make an MMO, because they went to make a Battle Royale as a test platform in a saturated market and then just stuck with it. And, you can't really do that at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried.
Yeah, but if you actually play it, it's not a Battle Royale. I mean, it's got a storm.
But I think that's just to say how easy it is to create this sort of game. I mean, that's all I think about that. It probably is a beta because it's not hard to do. It's basically balancing, right? You're creating skills and then you're balancing them.
But it's definitely alpha stage. All we're doing is trying to log into the game. Then we're sitting in queue as we try to log in, and then it either fails or it doesn't. Lots of time you're sitting in queue for 20 minutes, and then you're like, okay, well, 20 minutes is too long. Let me go out and come back in and try something else and see if solos are working or if I can log in for squads. So probably 30% of the time you aren't even playing. You're just trying to get into a queue because they're testing the queue. That's the whole point. Really not a lot is being spent to balance or anything like that at this point. There is just a storm, and that makes it into a Battle Royale type environment. But it's really just testing. If
they truly want to sell me that this is testing, that they're load testing and all of this stuff, they wouldn't give you a game client that you voluntarily log into and play. They would give you something that you run in the background that will attempt to connect to the server and then attempt to stay connected and simulate activities. Something completely invisible to us that we're just running as something to help them out. That would probably, if they're trying to actually do load balancing stuff, they'll probably do a lot more for them than just trying to get whoever actually jumps on with the client to jump in and try to play. It's something people could install, have on auto update, and just forget. When they start their computer and just get it running, it's just doing the thing and it's helping with the load testing. It doesn't have to be a
but
very big program or a very advanced program, but it can give them all of the data they actually need from people that would be, giving input up to the actual minutia of like combat and such.
Yeah, but it's still preparing for ramping up to different stages. So it's following the agile development model. So we're getting things in stages, and this is just the beginning stage. So it's easy to jump into a battle royale environment and have PvP, and then next is going to be the castle sieges, and then after that they're going to add monsters to it. So it's all ramping up to actually getting us to be testing pieces of the MMORPG. This is just the very first.
But it's weird to then call each modular piece its own alpha beta gold cycle. But that's what I'm saying. But it's not. But I don't think they're doing gold. It's alpha beta, and that's because these days, and that's why it's what's in a name. These days, alpha beta is not about quality. It's just about the stages of people that you are letting in. What segment of the testing population are you letting in? And for Apocalypse, they're letting the beta testers, those people who purchased beta packages, they're giving them access. That's all it means. It doesn't say anything else about quality, and that's why they're doing beta for Apocalypse before they're doing alpha for the MMORPG, because they're letting beta test numbers in so that they can stress the servers more than just whatever the alpha population is. So that was one interesting thing, but we started to see this 4 or 5 years ago when we first got into Landmark. Well, by the time they said, "Oh, hey, we're at beta," we jumped into the beta and we were all like, "Why are they calling this a beta? This is not a beta quality. They're still adding functionality. This is not feature locked," which is what beta normally means. They're adding features. So why are they calling this a beta? But again, that just meant they're letting people who bought the beta package in to test right now. So for game development, I think people are saying that it's confusing because it's not the standard everywhere else. But for the past 5 years, that's the way we've been going with. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it was with Chronicles of Illyria or Ashes, but we talked about release and why they call something a release. It's like, yeah, they call, open beta. We just released open beta. Yay, we had a release. Like that's not a release. But the other cool thing that happened, and I think I texted you guys a little bit about this, was because I don't play battle royales, so I don't know the culture behind that and the rules set that people like. But one of the things that happened was squads stopped working, so we could no longer log in as squads. And a squad is usually up to 4 people. And we got up to maybe 100 or 200 people playing in squads of 4. But then that broke and you couldn't load in as squads. People got bored of just playing solo, so they started teaming in solo. And people were like, "Oh, these people should be banned. This is horrible. I'm going to report them for teaming." And I'm like, "God, it's just team. If you got a bunch of people who keep teaming together, then just form your own team and go after them." No, that's horrible. You can't do that. We're going to ban them. That's stupid. No, I'm pretty sure teaming is totally valid because they can betray you at any time and you can betray them at any time, and there's no contract that prevents it. I would say it makes it boring to have non-squad, to have solo, because it means you have to spend that much more time hunting and locating every single player individually rather than squad versus squad. You're taking each other out a lot quicker. And likewise, the ability to even spot other groups nearby so you can actually begin engagements of any sort become a lot more frequent. So it's the sort of thing where, that's one of the reasons why I stopped playing and just gave up on Battle Royale initially. Was if I'm going to sit there and play a 1 hour game where I'm playing chicken with the last 10 players for like 20 minutes, and the reward I get is what? A pat on the back, a cute little GIF, nothing that's really persistent in any other meaningful way. I don't care about that. That is disincentivized. That is de-incentivized. That makes me not want to play. That makes me want to uninstall it. Like, that feels like a waste of my life. Squad it, I could see maybe being a little bit better, but I don't know. Just the format in general, I'm over. If I want to play a large-scale battle, there's PlanetSide 2, there's Crowfall, there's other games that actually specialize in it.
Yeah, and these sessions last about 20 minutes. Probably the longest is about 20 minutes, somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes.
Oh, don't worry. For competitive games, I always make them last longer. Anytime.
No. I mean the storm. I'm just saying the storm ends.
Somehow that game, like, that's the other reason why I stopped playing competitive games, because I always somehow make them last longer. I tried to play League of Legends with people that knew the game pretty well. Every time I tried to play, every match was an extra 30 minutes, like hour and 15 instead of max 45.
You can't do that when the storm ends. The storm is the length of the storm. You can't, and then you're dead.
I'll find a way to make it last longer, damn it.
I don't see how you can do that. I'd love to see you try. But the storm starts and then ends within 20 minutes. So
okay, well, at least that keeps it tidy. Teaming is fine.
But the thing that hit me is it's like to me PvP, because the way gamers are is anything is open, anything is, fair play, unless they will literally ban you from it, and they actively ban you, or they mechanically prevent you from doing it. If they don't do either of those things, it's fair play. That's the way gamers play.
Pretty much.
And that's what it's like for PvP versus PvE. The PvE folk are like, you should do good sportsmanship. If I'm not participating and I'm clearly gathering, don't attack me. And people are like, they aren't stopping me from attacking you, and they aren't banning me for doing it, so I'm going to attack you because I can do it. And if I can do it, that's fair play. So I'm going to do it.
But if you bring a friend and you kill me together, that's against the rules.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So now, because we're in a different method, and there's these other games, and all these other games, teaming and solo is a bannable offense. They will ban you for it. You should. So Steven came into the Discord while we were discussing that. And of course, they all hated me for saying teaming is okay. But Steven said, well, I would prefer that you guys man up and actually solo. But he didn't say don't team, or if you team, I'm going to ban you. So for the time being, it seems to be...
I don't care.
Fair play. Well, I'm just saying it's interesting how gamers come up with the rules, or try to come up with rules of what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, what's fair gameplay, what's good sportsmanship, and what's not.
Is there anything even permanent from what they're doing right now? Like, is anybody earning anything that will persist beyond the current phase?
Well, I mean, there's nothing really. There's nothing. Everything that you get is cosmetic. So
that's a battle royale.
But I'm saying, but like losing. There's no leaderboard right now. So I'm thinking, okay, if there was a leaderboard and teaming was going to change, right? So there's a solo leaderboard versus a squad leaderboard, then that would be problematic, I think. But there is no leaderboard. So I can't think of anything that you really gain or lose by
if you increase your chances of being in the winning group, if that's like the top 10 or the top 5 or whatever, if grouping significantly increases your odds of that, then yeah, you are getting an advantage, because if the only thing there is to earn is aesthetics, then you're going to have a much higher chance of doing it if you essentially cheat, you and your buddy both cheat and have a better chance of getting to the end together. So I could see if the only reward is aesthetics, then that would be what people are getting upset about. But at the same time, I would say it's also a very early phase for the thing, and if they, until the developers actually come through and lay down the rules and say this is this, this is that, this is definitively grouping, you're not allowed to do it, and we'll monitor and ban for it. Until they're actually doing that, yeah, it really is just anybody's game.
Well, but again, you're not like it doesn't matter to me, because I get in the top 3 regardless, just by hiding and waiting. And I mean, it
which
it doesn't matter. You can team or not, and it's not going to really affect my game.
So is that something that you tell people too? Like, do they get offended about the idea that you're a non-combatant and that's how you get to the end?
People don't seem to care about that. No.
No? Oh, okay.
See, I would take that to the extreme, right? So what if you're hiding, you have a clear shot of someone, but that someone is just destroying everyone. So you just wait back, let them do it. You're kind of letting them live. They don't know it, but it's sort of teaming up until the end. So that's the extreme side of that. So where do you say you're banned?
I don't think that's I think that's completely opposite. Letting people kill themselves so you can sneak out and finish them. No, because then if you're, it's the idea that
but you're able to shoot. If Diggs is sitting there killing everyone, and I could easily just snipe him, but I decide not to, because I just want to let him kill everyone for me.
If I see a bunch of people at 100 health that are about to fight each other, why take a shot and reveal myself at the beginning instead of waiting until the end and shooting them at the very end? Like, that makes the most sense to me. So wait till they've all killed each other. And then if you don't take that shot, you're still not teaming up, because if you stand up, they're just going to kill you.
Yeah, I think what people are complaining about is being taken out too quickly. They're taken out of the game more quickly than they would if everybody soloed. So letting somebody else live is kind of the opposite, because instead of taking them out quickly, you're letting them stay in longer. But again,
you're benefiting from their play.
Yeah, it serves your purpose.
Which is the whole idea of teaming up. You're benefiting from someone else's play.
Yeah, but that's not their complaint. I think their complaint is specifically that they're taken out quickly. No.
You're benefiting from someone else's gameplay.
Yeah, but that's not what they're complaining
Well, I know
about.
that's maybe not how they're wording it, but
I would say
it's a specific thing that either you're 19th in the game or you're second in the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they need to grow up.
It's one thing if you're watching somebody go murder town on a bunch of other people and just hanging back. It's another thing if you are actively watching their back and communicating to them and attacking the same thing they're attacking.
But that's why
those are two completely different things.
But that's where I'm saying the extreme of that is that person doesn't know you're actually not killing them, but you're just letting them do their work for you.
Yeah. But again, I always say, with that situation, if you stand up and they're just going to charge you and kill you, there's no teamwork there. You just managed to take advantage of the situation.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but that's the whole kind of point about either the devs are going to tell you this is an exploit, and if you do this, we're going to ban you, or they're going to mechanically make it so that you can't do it. And if they don't do either of those two things, it's pretty much fair game as far as I can tell is usually the case. That's usually what gamers seem to tell me.
Yeah.
How can you really pull that off, though? Like, do you make everybody's appearance constantly change so you can never tell who's who? That's the only way I can think of.
What do you mean?
That either everybody appears exactly the same and always has the exact same appearance, or that every like 3 seconds everybody's complete aesthetic loadout changes and just constantly keeps rotating. Those are the only two ways I can really think of to kind of nullify that advantage, because otherwise you can visually tell, you know, I'm wearing a red hat and blue shoes, you're wearing a red hat and blue shoes. Hey, find the person that looks like they're dressed the same way, and we can buddy together and win this. You know, that's.
So how do you enforce it?
How do you enforce it? Maybe you shouldn't.
Well, so the thing that I'm hoping, before they get to a stage where they're banning, if you know they're gonna say, you know, if you report this person and you have video footage and you know we can tell that they're teaming, we're gonna ban them. Before they ban them, I hope what they do is give them corruption.
Yeah, banning somebody for...
Because corruption is supposed to be something everybody can see. That person is corrupted. Everybody go get that guy.
That makes sense. Banning someone for angle shooting in a one-off that isn't even the game that they have paid for is completely asinine to me. Like, that is so incredibly backwards that I wouldn't expect they're going to ban anybody whatsoever.
So I have a question, because both of you have been in the industry. So when we say exploit, is that utilizing like a bug, something that is not intended by the developer? Or is that, I mean, what is that actually defined within the industry? Because when I see this isn't a bug. You have two people who are playing their characters as they're supposed to be played. They just happen to be on the same side.
Well, I would say...
How is that an exploit?
An exploit doesn't necessarily need to include a bug. A bug is when there's a code error that allows something to happen or prevents something from happening. An exploit is simply using the design of the game against itself or against the other users. So, like speedrunners that will clip through walls, that's, you know, kind of, it's more of a bug run than an exploit run. You're not exploiting the fact that this wall has collision glitches when you perform a certain set of actions. That is a bug. That is unintended consequences of the code in the engine that you are taking full advantage of. So it's completely different if you're actually doing something that if the coders knew about it, they would just fix it, versus something where the rules allow you to do it, you're just expected not to do it or have been warned not to do it. That's completely different.
Yeah, usually it's something where the players are doing something that the developers don't intend. So it's technically against the rules, but the devs aren't able to mechanically prevent it at the moment. So they can't fix the bug if it's a bug. Well, pretty much that's what it is. Whatever it is, if it's a design flaw, then they can't fix the design flaw. So,
whatever. Ultimately, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a game I won't play. So.
Fair enough.
But also, I was saying, you know, I mean, when people were saying, "Oh, we're going to report," I mean, because it was like 4 days, maybe 5 days that squads, maybe 4 days that squads weren't working, and every day people were still saying, "Oh, they're still teaming. I'm going to report. I wish I could report. I should report them," and I'm like, but of course, I mean, of course, people are going to team while squads are not working, because if squads were working, they would probably be in squads, and we wouldn't have to worry about them being in solo.
Why does it even matter in an alpha or beta?
That's part of the thing I'm trying to understand, but
you're not there to win. You're there to play the game and test it.
The feeling that I got is just everybody who plays battle royales knows that it's
Well, and that might be, but this is an alpha or a beta.
You're a crap. You're just a crap person if you're good. It's cheating, and you're a cheater, and you know you're a cheater if you team in solos. Everybody knows that, so everybody should just agree.
But it shouldn't matter.
That I got. Cheaters are bad.
They're not. How are you cheating when you're playing something you can't win? You're testing, not playing to win.
Well, that's the other thing is that, you know, people don't really understand the difference between.
Do you think people don't understand, or do you think they do? They just don't really care. This kind of comes back to what we were talking about before, and how surprised I was at how dumb people are. That was off camera for anybody who's wondering what I'm talking about. But, I mean, do you?
Phantom X has opinions today.
Well, I mean, there's been a series of games released, and that's sort of, you know, was it Legends of Area, the Atlas, you know, that are advertised as early access, so whatever you want that to be, a beta state, whatever. And of course, they don't function. And of course, when you purchase it, you know that it's early access. You see that before you buy it. Yet you go on Twitter and you rant about how something doesn't work. It's like, well, what did you expect? Right. And there's so many people that don't seem to understand that. It's just like, are you just not very intelligent? Like, what do you not get here? Or do they just don't care?
But when we talked about this, 4 years ago, people were saying, I mean, even when H1Z1 released, you know, people were saying, but if you release the product, it's a product. So people should critique it for what it, for if it's crappy, then they say it's crappy. And that's where I got into the whole pancake batter. Right? You know what you're paying for, and pancake batter is not the finished product. You aren't gonna squeeze out the pancake batter and go, well, it's not fluffy. Why isn't it fluffy? It says pancakes on the. Well, you got to do extra stuff to it before it's ready to be eaten. Or even frozen pancakes. You can't just take a frozen pancake out of the thing and say, oh, why is it icy cold? Why isn't it hot? Like,
because that's what a lot of what you describe. I mean, that's how it comes across to me. Who cares if they're pairing up in solo? You're testing the game.
Right. That's right. You
think?
That's also why I was asking.
How many of these people are going to care? You know, a year from now. Oh, I placed number 1 5 times in alpha. Oh, who cares?
Well, no, that's again what I'm saying is if there's any actual permanence to the aesthetics you're unlocking, that's to whom it will actually matter because they will have those aesthetics unlocked. I feel like if you care about the aesthetics and you care about the idea of having these aesthetics, which may very well just be locked to the Battle Royale, they might not actually transfer to the normal game anyway. You know, if that's the thing you care about.
But what I'm saying is it doesn't really matter the way because everything unlocks versus points. So technically you might get, you know, the hallowed great axe before somebody else does, but I mean, if you play enough, you're gonna get it. It's like all you have to do is get a quest for, you know, doing 200 points of damage. It's not how many kills you made, and even with kills, you can rack up the number of kills. Like I can rack up the number of kills. So, like, if I can get the stuff, anybody can get the stuff. And if you're actually actively fighting, you're gonna get all the stuff.
And nothing is really exclusive to getting first, second, or third place. There's no ultra rares or anything. Okay. Well, then if that's the case, then no, it absolutely doesn't matter. Like then they're crybabies. Yeah. It's a game. If you want to put that much rage and energy into something, local politics.
You know, it's interesting because when you browse like PvP, everyone talks about Care Bears, right? But when you step back, it's the PvPers complain the most. They want the things the very specific way so that they're leveraged the best they can to win. And once that goes off a little bit to the side, they start complaining and complaining.
Yep. That's the way I always feel it out.
Fair point.
But this idea of early access, but Atlas was horrible, really. I shouldn't use the word release, whatever it was. But Legends of Area, I mean, it also had a very terrible first go into early access. But I just want to smack. I wish you could actually physically smack people on Twitter, because all these posts were, I paid for this, and how dare what am I getting back for free? That annoys me more than anything else. Mm-hmm. You brought the servers down for 2 hours. What do I get for free?
Right.
It's like, what?
Right. Well, that's the other thing. You promised. It's like, what? Wait. You promised this would be out on the 18th. You promised that this was going to be out January 11th. It's like, what? We let you know what our date was. And, in game development, things get delayed. That's just the way it works.
They usually do, in fact.
Yeah.
Well, and to go back what Neuro kind of mentioned at the very beginning, and we've actually, I think it might have been the last show, kind of brought this up, that does concern me. I realize that this is sort of a natural progression of they had to go through these systems anyways, combat and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the idea of throwing in a freestanding mode or game or whatever you want to talk about, it's going to continue, games as a service, it's going to continue to change and grow. And how many people can you actually spare to continue that running? Let's say it's a hit and all of a sudden you have, 500,000 people playing it. You're going to have to put resources there. So what does that in turn do to your MMO?
But again, so far the way they're handling it really is a test. So they aren't really putting any effort to. But eventually it will become a product or whatever.
And it will become a product long before the MMO is a product.
I don't think so.
I mean, look at Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite really started off as more of a, I don't want to call it an RPG, but it wasn't a battle. I mean, it was a battle royale. You teamed with people and you built a base.
It was a squad co-op story game.
And it's sort of completely been thrown. Now they obviously update as well, but it's like all battle royale now. So, I think there's a valid concern there. It has to be done. I understand. You have to work through combat and PvP or PvP-focused game. That's how you're going to promote change within the world. Mm-hmm. So you have to do it. But, spinning off an entirely new product so early, I think there's some...
And the other thing is, like, Epic, when I asked them about it, they said, the official response I got is that no Fortnite staffers were working on Battle Royale, that was all the Unreal Tournament team that moved over and did that. Initially, I would imagine that changed pretty quickly, but that was initially what they had said. But the difference is Epic is a massive company. They have multiple game teams and engine teams and stuff. They can do something like that. Hell, SOE, when they were still, before they sold off and everything, from the outside, it seemed like they, didn't need to do the Battle Royale stuff, that they could have just kept with H1Z1 Just Survive and make the better DayZ that they had originally set out to make. But then they kind of did some stuff too and switch it over and turn it into a battle royale, completely abandon the original thing.
But I think that's because Smedley loves PvP.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's what I heard, is that he loves PvP and he just ate that shit up. But
I mean, they had to turn off the ability for fire to spread, because all Smed would do is run into the server with a torch, start lighting stuff on fire, and then they'd have to shut the server down because everything was burned. So,
but yeah, I think.
Yeah, where is their Unreal Tournament team going to come from to keep the Battle Royale running?
Yeah, but the devs aren't really thinking in those terms, as far as I can tell. It's literally just a test environment that happens to have a storm
that they've now marketed as Apocalypse and will be released sometime in the near future.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that means that they're gonna.
I hope they put some thought into it.
Here's the part that I'm wondering about with it, and this is. This could be completely dumb, or it could be exactly dead on, and it could actually be both. The whole reason why they're doing the Battle Royale could be that they're trying to shop for investors so they can actually make the rest of the game. Because Battle Royales are hot right now, and Chinese companies want to diversify, or other companies from around the world want to diversify, and they've been jumping in the Battle Royale wagon. So I could see that actually being one of the reasons why they're pushing so hard on it.
I mean, when you look at this,
but they are.
So let me point something out. So really the only other company, so Crowfall has allowed people to actually invest within the game. They're incorporated. So most game companies are LLCs, right? So Daybreak, it's an LLC, which means you cannot own stock. Almost every game studio, I do a lot of looking at trademarks and stuff, so is an LLC. Intrepid purposely, I think, formed incorporated. They're not a LLC, which means the question becomes, well, why would they do that? And my belief to that is that because then they can actually sell stock within their company. And that is my belief as to why they formed the way they did. So I don't know, Diggs or Neuro, you might be onto something, might not, but they could sell off stocks.
It just seems like everybody who's been trying to make a next gen MMO, at least a US based developer, has been or had or is shopping for an investor. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the general survey of things that I was kind of getting, and that would completely line up with something like this. It could be that they're also just hedging that, they realize if we don't end up actually getting the chance to finish the MMO, we can at least put this battle royale out there and have something that we can try to work with in some way.
You just gave me chills because the way this is working is this is mostly Steven's own funding.
That's true.
Like Ashes of like Kingdoms of Amalur. And
well, realistically, even with Unreal doing a lot of having a lot of the work done for you, what does it cost to create a AAA MMORPG? Even with Unreal, with whatever they use, assets from the store, I mean, you're still talking how many millions of dollars, right? So it's got to come from somewhere.
I don't know.
I mean, Steven invested $3 million. But it depends on what you're spending your money on.
I hadn't talked about it on the show before, but that's my belief as to why they did not. It is not Intrepid LLC. Is because that opens them up to investors in a different way. And I was pissed about that with Crowfall. So a little background on that. You've bought the Kickstarter package. You got everything for like $500, right? And later on, well, it turns out you could actually give them $500. They give you all the stuff in the Kickstarter, plus they let you own part of the damn company. That irritated me. Anyways. So.
Wait, why did that irritate you? You didn't want to own anything?
Because I had already given them the money in Kickstarter, and then here comes the angel investor or whatever I forget what platform they used. And here someone else could get the exact same thing as me for the same price, but they actually own part of the company.
Yeah, that's right. It was a different package, right? It was a
Yeah,
separate
I mean, it's
package.
called something.
Yeah.
At that point, that's a year after
Yeah.
Kickstarter. So, I mean, it's not, or
Yeah.
even maybe 2 years. But
Yeah, I forgot they did that. Yeah.
I mean, Steven is smart. I'm almost. I mean, almost every studio you see is an LLC. So why would they form in such a different way? And the only thing I can come up with, of course, I'm not. You know, obviously, I did not go to school. I'm a doctor. I didn't go to school for business. But the only thing I can realistically come up with as I start to look through all that is that you can then, you know, form shares, sell shares, raise money. And that seems like something he's a businessman. He would do that.
Yeah.
And I think he realizes he cannot invest all of his own money into creating a AAA MMORPG.
Yeah, does it have to be AAA? I'm not sure.
It better well damn be.
But yeah, I think the saving grace in my mind, because I had never really compared Steven to Kurt Schilling, but where Kurt went a little crazy, like paying R.A. Salvatore to write the game and all that stuff, you know, for 2 different games, and, you know, build out all of the history and all that stuff. So at least Steven isn't throwing his money away on that, plus starting a separate studio in a different state and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm still concerned, but I'm not as concerned as he seems to be doing, reining things in better than Kurt did. But yeah, so it's supposed to start back up January 11th. People were kind of surprised, or it was interesting that because Castle Sieges were supposed to be starting for Alpha 1 players and content creators the end of December. But by Christmas, as we started seeing that squads weren't working, Legendary Path wasn't working, duos weren't working, it's like, well, they can't get squads and Legendary Path working. Castle Siege is going to be delayed. Like, that's not going to happen. But every day people were like, when is Castle Siege coming? When is Castle Siege coming? Is it going to be today? It's like, if squads aren't working, you know, Castle Siege is not today. So now I think Castle Siege is pushed back to end of January. And one of the nice things is that we see that Steven has learned a tiny lesson and started saying expected. He's adding expected instead of just laying out the date.
To his version of soon.
I mean, he was doing soon. Oh, I don't know if you guys know about Nodes 3. The reason why Nodes 3 was delayed is because they want to use the actual MMORPG map instead of a demo of the map. So they don't want to do Nodes 3 as a demo.
That means Nodes 3 comes in 2020?
Nodes 3 is supposed to come probably by the time we have Horde mode, I think. So I think March, April is the current estimated date. But yeah, if it's not going to be just another one of those, you know, quick demos like they did for 1 or 2, then I can understand why they would push back. But we didn't mention, because we didn't know, Maggie is coming.
Yeah, Margaret Crone. She was from EverQuest and Planet Side. She was a community manager and did a little bit of game design over at SOE, and I think she got canned in the whole Daybreaking thing. I can't recall. Then moved over to, I want to say she had moved over to NCSoft and been there for a while. Was that right?
That's what I think, yeah.
And then just recently left there to go manage community for Ashes. So at the very least, I know.
And marketing.
And marketing. That's right, because she's also got like her own stream and D&D stuff that she does. So getting better with all of that stuff. So that'll be, you know, really good for the game in general. a lot of people will probably see as a familiar face as well, who've been kind of around the EQ and SOE Daybreak community for a while. So, definitely a nice sort of thing. And then, didn't I hear recently that just as an aside, didn't I hear recently that Brass got picked up for Pantheon?
Yeah,
I believe that's right.
She did. Yeah.
Yeah. So congrats to her, because moving the ranch was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think she's actually doing that remotely.
They continue to, and I don't know the guy's name. I just had seen something in Twitter as well as some other SO or Daybreak folks getting hired by Intrepid. So.
Well, that would make sense, because 70 of them got laid off a month ago. Yeah. So, they got to go somewhere.
Something else to point out, and again, I don't know this to be true, but they trademarked the name AshNet around the same time they trademarked Ashes of Creation. So, of course, I immediately think AshNet, BattleNet. So it's sort of, why do you need a specific launcher? Oh, look, we have a Battle Royal. We have multiple games to come out. So I actually think they might have planned this idea of Apocalypse a while back.
Well, I would hope it was planned.
No, I'm pretty sure originally they did the BR and people were like, "Hey, we're gonna do a separate game, and can we have a separate game?" And he was like, "No, that's not the plan." But enough people asked for it that he was like, "Well, okay, people are willing to pay. I'll take money. Why not?"
So the last thing I want to talk about, because we are starting to get to the end, that you had mentioned in chat, was the idea of releasing these sorts of things over the holidays. Absolutely drives me nuts. We had Atlas. Atlas released, when was that? Was that like before Christmas? Not too long before Christmas, I think it was, when they went live. And then we had, of course, Apocalypse.
I feel like that was 2 Saturdays ago. This one I played and returned it.
Yeah, and then of course Ashes with Apocalypse trying to go open beta and the things that come with that. It just drives me absolutely insane that you would do that to your employers, because inevitably things are going to go broken, and you're just sort of taking the time away. And I get where you were coming from, Diggs, that well, people want to do this, they want to push this out and have this game for people to play. In my view is that those people, most of those people, probably feel that way, but later in their life will regret that. So in my eyes, one of the things that I learned very early on from some people that had been in my profession long before I was is you're going to want to do everything you can, make as much money as you can. You're going to regret it. So slow down, take your time, have your family, be with your kids. And I feel like that's probably the same way in every profession. And it's the company's responsibility to be able to stop that from happening. So it just drives me nuts. Atlas is a perfect, that thing just was on fire from the get-go. They finally get on Steam, right? They delayed, like 4 days. And then there's this big timer. Everybody's waiting, countdown. These streamers are about to go live. And everybody's sitting there an hour after the timer goes to 0. Hour later, oh, we're delaying a few days.
That's the worst, because that...
And then they finally get it to Steam. Immediate bug. Nobody can connect to a damn server. So
that's also, I think, when people were starting to figure out if you press down on the stick on the menu enough times to where there's no option selected and pressed A, it would launch Ark, like legit Ark, with the ocean map in the client.
and my point is not to say, haha, you guys created a crappy game. My point is no launch is ever perfect, especially when you're in early access. So why in the hell would you do it on the holidays?
Because people want to play on the holidays.
But you're also getting exposed to, you have a lot of people with a lot of free time who are now very pissed at you. Yep, and your reviews are horrible. And you got employees that you made work through Christmas. So, I don't know.
Atlas had a lot of other problems, like just being a skin of Ark and all that stuff, and which is why Neuro ended up turning it back. I think,
Yep.
not so much for the servers breaking down, but just because he's already played the game.
Yeah, they can fix the servers, but it's still just an Arc mod.
Yeah, but yeah, and it seemed like Atlas. Seems like that team continued working. So I mean, because they just kept the game up. What was nice about what Steven did is he took the game down and gave his team time off for the holidays. So they actually had time off for Christmas and New Year's. They didn't work through that week, actually. So that's the nicer part, is when you can get, because at Activision, I think Christmas and New Year's were pretty much guaranteed. And then every other holiday was up in the air. But you could pretty much bank on getting Christmas and especially New Year's off. Mm-hmm. That's about it. And yeah, so, also when, my first day at Activision was 22 hours, and I think my second day at Activision was 34 hours. But that was 20 years ago. HR won't let you do that anymore.
No. There's many layers of not being allowed to do that now.
So.
Yeah, we could go into a whole show with crunch and stuff. That'd be a whole different show.
At this point, I'm more than ready to bring up the California labor website and be like, all right, let's talk about crunch. Let's talk about the actual legality of what you're about to expect of us.
So, all right. Well, it is past 9 o'clock. So is there any final thoughts, comments, anything at this stage, at this point?
Just we're hoping that Apocalypse will open back up on the 11th. Hopefully the website and the forums will be back up by then too. That's next week. And then the week after that, hopefully we'll have another show. We should make Nero play one game.
Yeah, I'll have to install it and try it out. Well, at least see what the combat system's like, or whatever version of it we have right now.
You only need to play one session.
Probably.
Okie doke. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Thanks,
well, we will be back next week, of course, with our COE show, and we will hopefully be back here in 2. So everyone have a wonderful Friday and a good weekend.
All right.
See you later, folks.